For those people who don't know, Nigel Pimlott is our learning network officer that's aligned with us in the Nottingham and Derby district. And so some of you will know Nigel from his work already in the district. Others of you might not do, but it's good to have Nigel with us today. And it's Nigel who's going to be doing with Ali, who I'll introduce when he appears, at most of our session tonight. So welcome everybody. It's good to see so many people from across the district participating in tonight's Zoom. And I hope that as a consequence of this, you get a lot from both what Nigel and Ali are going to share. I've heard both of them speak about this issue, about new places, new people. And I think I definitely came home, moved away from my desk with a lot of ideas and things to do as a consequence of hearing them speak. So I'm very glad that they're both available tonight to join us. For those people who don't know Ali Johnson, Ali's one of the members of the Connectional team, but also based at Cliff, and is as far as I'm concerned, the world authority on the sort of stuff that we're going to talk about tonight in terms of media and working with media. So it's great, Ali, that you can be with us tonight and share with us. What the format of tonight is that both Ali and Nigel are going to have some input. There's going to be opportunity for plenary. There's also going to be opportunity, depending on how many questions you've got, to go into groups. And also, if you want to ask anything specific, if you put it in the chat, Luke and I will monitor the chat between us and make sure that Ali and Nigel pick those things up. So by all means, do put things in, and they'll be very willing to answer any of the questions. But first, we're going to start with some devotions. Yesterday, if you attended church or Zoomed or YouTubed, or you may have heard the reading from John 15:9-17, when Jesus talks about his relationship with his Father and urges us as disciples to love each other and to abide in him. But what we had read yesterday was only half the story. The reading is preceded, of course, by verses 1-8. And when we see them read together, you can see how they connect. And I'm not very happy sometimes with the way in which they split the lectionary. And yesterday was certainly one occasion when I weren't. But this is the reading that precedes yesterday's, from 1-8. I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine grower. He removes every branch in me that bears no fruit, and every branch that bears fruit he prunes to make it bear more fruit. You have already been cleansed by the word that I have spoken to you. Abide in me as I abide in you. Just as the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine and you are the branches. Those who abide in me and I in them bear much fruit, because apart from me you can do nothing. Whoever does not abide in me is thrown away like a branch and withers. Such branches are gathered, thrown into the fire and burned. If you abide in me and my words abide in you, ask whatever you wish and it will be done for you. My Father is glorified in this, that you bear much fruit and become my disciples. Disciples are fruitful people. We then go on to love, and that's the order that John's Gospel has it. We are being connected with Christ, rooted, if you like, in tune with Jesus, who in tune is connected with and rooted in God. That idea of we must first abide, we must first be part of the vine before we can then go on and bear fruit and then love, is the way in which John wants to portray that to us. And that's perhaps something we need to hear as we think tonight about new places and new people, those on the margins of our society, and as we carefully consider how we go about introducing people to Jesus so that they too can be loved and part of the vine. So let's pray. Lord our God, as we think about our work as disciples and our work in mission evangelism and our building for new places, for new people, we want to yield fruit in season. We don't want our leaves to wither on the vine. You have made us to be fruitful, Lord. So yearning today to be part of our God-given DNA, that we yearn for our lives to matter, our work as disciples to matter, the teaching, evangelism, and mission, and all the work of our churches to matter. All this is a result of how you have created us, recognizing we are your handiwork, created anew in Christ Jesus for good works that you've prepared for us. We want to do these loving things and these loving works in all our lives, and help us as we pray to be as trees planted by streams of water. May our roots grow deeply into your truth and love. And as we focus on the task before us to build new places for new people, may your word be alive within us, urging us to love, guiding, encouraging, nourishing, empowering, and liberating. And to you be all the glory in the challenges of this day. As we meet, we're conscious of the pandemic swirling around our world, and we pray for all those who suffer today. All those who need a touch of your love, especially remembering the people of Israel, Palestine, but particularly what's happening in Jerusalem, and also the people of India. So Lord, in your mercy, hear all of our prayers. Amen. And I'm now going to hand over to Nigel. We are recording some of the of tonight. There are a number of people who haven't been able to come tonight, and so what we're doing is we won't be recording all of it. What we will be doing is snapshots of tonight, and also some of the chat may well appear for people as well if there's any particular questions that people want answering. So if you're not happy with any of that, then do just turn off your video, and then you won't appear. Okay. But Nigel, we're with you. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Lorraine. Thanks, everyone. Good to see you all. I said hello to most as who were coming in, but hello if I didn't. We're going to split the evening, as Lorraine said. I'm going to talk very much about new places for new people, and then Ali's going to talk about that, but very much look at it from perhaps more of a technical and perhaps some creative ideas point of view. So I hope that's okay. I'm going to do about 40 minutes. I want to try and do three things, which is just unpack what we might mean by new places for new people, how we might align ourselves with that idea, and then how we might design going forward what we might do so we effectively develop new places for new people. I do like working participatively, so we will have a breakout room. Hopefully we'll have a chance to put a specific thing in the chat, and there'll be other questions, again, as Lorraine mentioned, which her and Luke will flag at an appropriate time. We might use a few slides, depending on how I'm feeling in the moment, which I hope's okay, and Luke's on standby to do that. So that's the direction of travel. I'm trying to speak generally. I'm also got an eye on those of you who perhaps have already applied for a grant, and those of you who might apply for a grant. So we've got an ambitious range of things we're trying to do, but we'll do our best to do them, if that's okay. From my point of view, I'm passionate and always have been about trying to engage people who aren't followers of Jesus, been involved over the years in church plants, new initiatives, trying to get things going. Currently running a digital Facebook project in partnership with Newark and Southall Circuit. Might talk about that later. But we've seen people do amazing things over the last few months, all trying to connect with people in different ways. We've got two digital specific things going on in the district, trying to build new places for new people. We've seen people do small group work, alpha, online courses, Lent courses, book clubs, and film and TV things, all trying to engage people in different ways. And then, of course, we've seen, as perhaps many of you have been involved in, online services and things like that. Looking across at the connection, I know of circuits who've set up a separate church to handle their whole digital thing, or to handle their new place for new people initiatives. And there are also emerging idea of districts actually setting up new circuits to be the container in which we might hold some of these new ideas and creative things. So that's just a kind of a bit of background. I'm trying to encourage us to think strategically tonight and intentionally and very missionally about how we engage the new. I don't know where you're coming from. I don't want to convey the idea I'm an expert at all things digital. There's a bit of a joke we've been running in some of the groups I've been involved that an expert is currently defined as someone who's 10 minutes ahead of someone else because the world is changing very quickly. And if you have just that little bit more knowledge about this topic, you're the expert. Ali's got loads of knowledge around the digital. I'm trying to learn. I've run a couple of the courses, the connections run around digital church and so forth. I don't say that to be kind of arrogant about it. We're all on a learning journey, but I have sat in many of the meetings around new places for new people. I'm helping another district with their projects and also in the evangelism and growth team. So I come in the spirit of what I think we're trying to achieve by new places for new people. So I hope that's okay. Could we put up a slide, the first slide, Luke? Would that be okay? So I'm sure you've come with some questions tonight and some thoughts. And I think one of the things I just want to start with by just inviting us to think about as we wrestle with the digital, with things like Zoom, Facebook, whatever it is, YouTube, TikTok, they're not really the issues. They're no more the issues than how we've wrestled with buildings, orders of service, church councils, whatever it is. Those are just things, if you like. And the focus for me is very much about God and about people and about that relationship, about how we help people follow Jesus. This phrase of the digital world and all that's happened to us being the new front door to the church has been around for a while now. I think it came from a lady called Nona Jones in America, but she says the digital, particularly social media, is the new front door to our churches. So the point at which we might connect and people connect with us has changed as we've kind of gone forward. So that's the title which we went with tonight. For me, this is a great adventure. It's about finding those godly connections, making new disciples, trusting God, and all those other things which I find exciting. It's about growing Christian community in new ways and telling stories of great joy and success, but also recognizing some of the struggles and hard work. I would like to keep a center stage. I'm always struck, Jesus said, I will build my church. So whatever we do to support that, I think the ultimate sense is that Jesus will build his church and we perhaps need to join with that. So that's where my starting point is. That's where I'm coming from. And hopefully it will be a helpful introduction if you're not familiar with it at the moment. So we'll come in and out of the slides as we go, but maybe we could put the next one up, Luke, just to reinforce where we're starting from, talking again about unpacking, aligning and designing, so we just kind of know what we're going to do. I think one of the things reflecting on some of the grant applications we received was there were some good ideas and people had clearly put lots of work in and were being faithful to what they were wanting to do. I think the reflection of those who looked at those applications was not a lot of what was offered was what I would call new. I appreciate that might sound a little bit harsh and judgmental, but we were really looking for things which are new, not things which we're continuing or perhaps developing, though there's great merit in those. We were looking for new creative ideas which would go beyond where we were, beyond the walls of our churches, to connect with people we weren't connected with in places that we haven't gone before. And some of you might have seen, which is the little poem on the next slide, which if Luke, you could put that up. This was offered by Richard Raw a few days ago. I put it on my Facebook thing, and I know you won't believe it, but several Methodist ministers in our district stole this for their sermons and their newsletters. Like, absolutely scandalous. But hey, it wasn't mine to start with. But just, I found this really challenging. So I'm going to read it if that's okay. It's from Neil Donald Walsh. It says, yearning for a new way will not produce it. Only ending the old way can do that. You cannot hold on to the old way while declaring you want something new. The old will defy the new. The old will deny the new, and the old will decry the new. There is only one way to bring in the new. You must make room for it. And I found it really challenging, that thing, because it's the words are really nice, but I think it's quite hard to do. And Lorraine and I were chatting on social media about, the metaphor of the wineskins, the old and the new, is a challenge for us all the time, I think. So I offer that. We could debate it for a long time, but I just want you to perhaps hold it and to reflect on it perhaps at a later stage. But it's this sense of, is what we're doing really, really new? This is what I think. If you are hosting something and you are asking people to join you in what you are already doing, in a place determined by you, where your identity is the driving factor, where you determine the boundaries and you dictate the territory, I would like to suggest that you're not developing a new place for new people. That is truly about being new, genuinely developing new Christian community with new people in a fresh and previously unvisited and entered space and place. I really want to stress, let's trust God to take us into the new, because I think that's what this initiative and certainly the grants we were looking to offer were all about. So just a couple of more thoughts, then we'll pause. Can you put up the next slide, Luke? Is that okay? No, well, yeah, there's some thoughts been around for a while now, and this may help you decide whether it is new. And it's about whether we're the host of something or the guest of somebody. So if you feel more like a guest than a host in the new place you're envisaging, then I think we're getting closer to the idea of a new place for new people. If the language of the new people and that new place is not your native language, if we can use that phrase, and it's not churchy and it's unfamiliar to you, then I think we're more likely to be thinking we're in a new place for new people. And in the digital realm, I think if you already know what it looks like and what it will do and how it will function and how people will respond, again, I'm just a little bit nervous that might not be a new place for new people, because it is a journey of mission into the unknown. And so we don't know all those things really. But my passion is we join with God in something which feels like a fresh, fast running stream. If it feels a bit like a lake or a stagnant pool, again, I would like to just gently suggest it might not be a new place for new people. This type of work is fast running, it's fresh, it's energizing, it takes a lot of effort, but it's rewarding too in the way it's constantly developing. If your thinking is, I'll do something on social media or Zoom in order to get people to something else I'm doing, I would also like to gently suggest that's not a new place for new people. Social media is the place of ministry. It's not a vehicle to promote ministry. I'll say that again. It is the place of ministry. It's not just a vehicle to promote other ministry and act as an invitation to things, although they do obviously have their place. So I'm delighted people have done Zoom. I don't wish to undermine that at all with their services. People have done amazing things. Many people have worked to the point of exhaustion. So all of that is really positive and I'd love to endorse it. But I would really want us to try and think beyond that. And I know I might be overstating the case, but if we're really positioned where we want people to come to something that we're in control of and doing in the past, then I just want to ask the question, is that really new? Is it a new place for new people? So my thoughts around this is very much rooted around, I really hope it's not my vision, because that might not go so well. I think there's lots of talk that the context we find ourselves in is king. And so I hope it's what God is calling to. I use this triangle a lot, which I hope offers a rhythm for all situations and all contexts. that we start with the purpose of why we exist, why we get up in the morning, why we follow God, why we feel a sense of call. And hopefully we are looking for the mission which God is on in our location, who we are called to, which are the people God is inviting us in relationship with to build the kingdom. Then the vision emerges from that as how we see what happens into the future. How does that mission, what does going forward look like as we journey with God? And that leads us into a sense of perhaps having some goals, or what does success look like? What does that fruitfulness Lorraine prayed at the beginning look like? Then we jump to what I call strategies. How do we get there? What steps do we need to take in order to accomplish all of this? And the last question for me is, what do we do? What in ministry are our priorities? How we decide what are the things which we're doing. The problem is, and it's been heightened during the pandemic, many people have jumped to what we do first, which is potentially put at risk this bigger understanding which God might be revealing to us. So can we put the next slide, Luke? So I would very much like to flip this around. So we put much more energy into what our purpose is, much more time and prayer. And this is my answer to the vision question. If we invest the time, if we invest the discernment, if we invest the prayer, we will discover where God is at work and what the vision is. I'm totally convinced of that. And that will then liberate us to make easier decisions about how we move forward and accomplish those goals and deciding what we actually want to do. So my heart for what I've been doing in and around the village in Newark and Southall came because we connected through some face-to-face things over the last few years with a certain group of people, mainly women in the 25 to 55 age range. They seemed to resonate with the language we were speaking. And so when we moved into a Facebook online space exclusively for them, it became much easier to decide what we talked about, how we positioned that, and what things we communicated, because we wanted to connect with where they're at and the language they were speaking. So I just offer this as a model. And I do want to repeat, it's not my vision. It's what God is revealing to you in your context. And as the quote there, I put, digital isn't the solution, it's just the tool for realizing this bigger sense of purpose, mission and vision that I believe God puts us on our hearts. And if it helps, digital is the same as the ships that Paul took on the trade routes of his day. It's the same as the printing press in Luther's time. It's, if you like, it's the horse of Wesley. It's just the tool to get us to where the new people are in the new places so that we can be deliverers of good news. So I hope that just sets a big picture for me about what we're trying to do. And I can't dress up the fact the digital, despite some stories to the contrary, I think it's hard work. It's slower than we think to make disciples, and it takes a lot of energy. It's a 24/7, 365 approach rather than anything else, and that takes a great deal of effort. And so I'd want to underline that we can't short circuit that in any way. I don't think we can short circuit it in face-to-face church, but perhaps we've neglected some of these things as we've gone forward. Key to all this to me is the second one, really. Who is God calling us to? Who are the people that God is inviting us to connect with, to share life with, to be good news to, and to love? Can we put the next slide, Luke? Is that right? Maybe in the chat you can answer this. Are you able to say with confidence who God is calling to? And again, I'm just being naughty. If you say everybody, can I gently suggest you might not know? I'm just trying to be provocative, but I do believe that. Who are you able to say with confidence who God is calling you to. Just put them in the chat if you know. So I'll put mine. Just give you a couple more minutes if that's okay. Grand, thank you. There's a few in there which we might just call on to later. So just as we move into thinking about how we might design this, I'm sure Ali's going to speak to this later. But the people who God is calling us to, they shape what we might actually do and what vehicles we might use with them, what methods in the digital world we might use. Certain sectors of our society prefer different types of social media. Some people love watching things on Facebook Live, other people love watching them on YouTube. Some people prefer certain social media ways of doing it. They might use lots of pictures, others prefer more text, others like to offer what other people have said, other people like to come up with original thought. I think they're all shape how we engage with those people. I think that the key is for me to stay very flexible in how we're designing things. Because we are learning, we are experimenting, we need to try things. Some things will work, some things we don't, as we try to reach new people in new places. The key for me is, if we get on one method and that dominates, we just run a few risks that we might get stuck. I was struck by Kerry Newhoff, who's a Canadian church leader. He said over the weekend, churches who love the method more than the mission will die. Churches who love the method more than the mission will die. And so the method, again, just to underline, to me, it's a secondary thing. It's a very fluid thing. It's really focusing on that mission, which is key to me. So we've done about half an hour. It's time for some breakout rooms just after those initial thoughts. What I'd like to do, oh, sorry, look, can we go back to the slide? I'm not expecting us, I'm going to give us about 7 or 8 minutes, and I'm really not expecting us to answer all of these questions. These questions are just to help the conversation. So could you put up the next slide, Luke? Is that okay? So I'm just kind of wondering, it's the one after that, sorry. It's the one, I'm just wondering, in order to make this happen, what might you stop doing? I used to say to people, if you're doing a dozen so things in your church, what 1 or 2 are you going to stop to make room for the new? I'm flipping that around at the moment and saying, if you're doing a dozen things, what 10 things are you going to stop in order to prioritize on the 1 or 2 and the new? Again, I offer that, not necessarily we would do it word for word, but just to change our thinking. How might you make this new front door better known where you are? Maybe some things which might you better engage with the lives and culture of some of those people we've just flagged up in the chat. The families in Melbourne, ignore the bit at the bottom because you've come up with your own. Some of the people who've moved on to the estate who are hungry for community. Some of those people who I might be looking to do. How can we do those things in a way which is helpful? And what pathways might we develop to bring people from initial contact through to faith? And what I mean by pathways are the stepping stones, are the things we can put in place to help that journey. So we'll come back in 7 or 8 minutes, if that's okay. Luke's going to put us into random breakout rooms. As always, do chat about something else if it grabs you. Can I encourage you not to over critique the process at the moment? I'm very happy for you to do that, but just to engage with the idea of the new and where we might go into the future. So Luke, over to you. If you could put us in breakouts, that would be fabulous.
Ali, on a number of occasions, speak about this issue, and certainly the authority that I go to in all things in this sort of area. So we're really good to have you with us, Ali, and thanks for all that you're going to share with us.
No worries. Just say I'm really excited with you. Thought I'd tell you who I was, just so you all know. Just gonna spotlight myself so you can see me, just because I love seeing myself on the screen. And I've got some fancy artwork behind me. So yeah, I'm Ali. I'm on the Evangelism Growth team with Nigel, so I have the pleasure of spending a couple of mornings a week staring at his beautiful face, which is always a joy. And I'm also like on staff at Cliff College on the evangelism team there, kind of oversee anything digital. So I helped with conference last year, kind of run God is with us this year. I've run a few other digital bits and pieces, done a whole lot of live streaming as we all have this year in different forms and functions. So I'm just really excited with you. I just want to begin by repeating something that Nigel said, just how proud of you I all am. Firstly, for turning up on a Monday night, well done for that. And secondly, just because of the journey we've been on, I recognise for most of us, this has been an 18 months of just learning through making mistakes. And that is hard graft. Doing digital, as Nigel said earlier, doing digital is not easy. It's actually really hard. And most of our learning is done by making mistakes and then fixing them. And actually pretty much every project I work on is broken at least 100 times before it goes live, and that's pretty much how digital works behind the scenes. It's pretty much chaos. So I just want to spend the 40 minutes I've got with you. It's going to be a bit sort of fast. I apologise for that, so please do stop me. Just want to begin by laying the base level foundations out. So there's some stuff I do, if you've been to training with me before, that I will do everywhere I go, and I don't apologise for that. I think these are really important questions to get right. The first thing I want to talk a little bit about is just, I want to offer you two, just going to bring myself on my screen, just two really helpful places to go to get some information about how to do digital really well from a church point of view. This is a book, like a physical paper book. Remember those things? This is a book by a friend of mine called Mark Crosby. Mark Crosby is head of communications for the Vineyard Movement. He wrote this book a couple of years ago. It is the simplest and most beautiful book on church communication there is out there. The reason it's good is it's got loads of pictures, which is always a bonus. And secondly, it's very colourful. It's bright yellow, and it's available at all good bookstores. The second one is something Nigel already mentioned. Is a lady by the name of Nona Jones. So Nona Jones is head of partnerships, head of religious partnerships at Facebook, and is one of the go-to voices on this. An incredible lady who her go-to phrase is to talk about from social media to social ministry. Okay, her whole thing is about exactly what Nigel's been talking about, that these platforms that we're inhabiting and the spaces we're about to inhabit are not platforms. Instead, they're areas of ministry, and exactly the way the church is. Okay, areas that we can't just project our voice onto or tell people what to think. We have to engage as people. Exactly the same rules apply that you learn about in all your pastoral training applies on social media. Okay, the same rules apply. We have to do much more listening than we do talking, and much more understanding than we do shouting. Okay, and the truth of the matter is, we need to be really honest with ourselves. We are not the best group of people, as in the church is not the best group of people for listening. We're really good for shouting, not the best for listening. And so this is going to be a difficult thing for us to work through as a national church, okay? What are things we're doing? I'm just going to run through the top line figures, okay? These figures are just for your information, because I like an infographic and I can get them through pretty quickly. So I'm going to rattle through these, but I will email you my notes afterwards, so don't worry too much. Okay. We're looking here, I'm going to move myself completely out of the way now. We're looking here at a global report, okay? This report is done by a company called Hootsuite. Okay, they produce a global report a couple of times a year. These figures are taken from January, so the middle of the pandemic, and these figures are pretty interesting. So, world population in January 2021 was at 7.83 billion people. Okay, so that's the baseline figure we're talking about. Unique mobile phone users in the world, okay, was at 5.22 billion. Okay, absolutely astonishing statistics. That's 66.6% of the whole world's population have a mobile phone. Okay, internet use was at 4.66 billion. So over nearly 60% of the world's population now has access to the internet. Okay, and social media, okay, the reach of social media is now at 4.2 billion. Those numbers are just astonishing. That's got up, one population growth goes up at roughly 1% and has for an awful long time, which is an issue we need to talk about separately, but that's not for tonight. Okay, 1.8% growth in unique mobile phone users. Okay, this is all in the pandemic. Internet use went up by 7.3%. Okay, and then active social media use went up by 13.2%. And that is the reason you've all turned up tonight, right? That is the reason we're all here, because they're the numbers we want to get hold of. They're the people we want to reach. And that's the mission field we hopefully feel like God's calling us to. Okay. I'm going to just skip this one. I want to spend a little bit of time here. Okay. This is an average daily use of online. Okay. Just want to tell you what we're talking about here. These are freely available statistics you can get to look at yourself. Okay. Average internet use for a human being, okay, these are UK statistics now, it's just short of 7 hours. Okay, 6.5 hours, 6 hours, 54 minutes. Okay, that is broken down to be something that looks like this: 3 hours, 24 minutes watching TV, 2 hours, 25 on social media, roughly 2 hours spent reading press, both online and in person. Okay, time spent listening to music was about an hour and a half. Okay, broadcast radio was about an hour. Podcasts are now about an hour a day. Okay, and gaming is at 1 hour and 12 minutes. Who spends any time gaming? Okay, and we're average users in the UK. So you just got to think about these numbers, depending on how old you are, go up and down at an incredible rate. Okay, if you're under sort of 25, what I spoke to one of my in fact, you all know him, so I'm going to say his name. Ashley Cooper's son is a friend of mine. It's called Joel. Okay, Joel lived on his own during lockdown. At the end of every year, at about April time, PlayStation released their statistics, okay, for how long you've played. Okay, Joel Cooper had been on his PlayStation during lockdown 84 days of the year. Okay, that's 84 full days, no sleeping. Okay, he's been on his PlayStation 4. These numbers are incredible. Okay. And it's not just about going on Zoom, okay? It's the whole thing is much deeper and much greater than that, okay? The impact digital will have on our life is growing, and hopefully that's the reason you come up, okay? The report is about 266 pages long, okay, in that figure. I've boiled down to 5 points, okay, just for you tonight. I've got 5 points for you, so you don't have to read the report. Okay, the first thing is, the 2020 report says we've just seen incredible growth. Okay, it's just been crazy. Okay, let's just say we all know it, we've all experienced it, everyone's using it for some incredible things. The second thing was the biggest growth has been in the e-commerce. Okay, I shop in Aldi and then I have to go to Morrison's. Does anyone do that? That shops at Aldi, then has to go to another supermarket to get the stuff you can't buy at Aldi. Good. So I go to Morrison's. What I see all the time now is those young people, okay, in their trainers with that little green jacket on that says, "I'm shopping for someone else." Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm doing the shopping for, and then if you look at their bags, okay, they've got Amazon stickers all over them. Okay, Morrison's and all those shops are now employing equally as many people to do online shopping for them, to do your click and collect, as they are in person. Okay, it is incredible, the numbers. And I'll tell you what else is amazing, and you'll all nod your head because everywhere I do, everyone does this. We now, all culturally, if we're going to buy something expensive, I'll let you decide how expensive is for you. Okay, I was going to buy a toothbrush the other day. The first thing I did was I didn't go to Amazon and buy a toothbrush. Okay, I typed in electrical toothbrush Best Buy on Google and had a look at the best, most effective toothbrush to buy. It took me about 2 minutes I didn't even look what the website was. I took the first piece of advice and I bought that one. Okay. E-commerce has changed and transformed. Okay. Reviews are now really important. The third thing is internet speeds are going to drastically change. Okay. 5G is going to change the way the internet works. Okay. You are now going to be able to get faster speeds on your phones than you are in person in a hardwired internet. Okay, that is so close to happening now. 5G will change and transform the way we consume habits. The fourth thing was, it's really interesting, is there's been a massive demographic shift. Okay, and you'll all know this, okay, because you all will, and you'll get why you know in a second. But what happened is, in the pandemic was, people of the older generation started to catch up with people of the younger generation. That makes sense? So if I'm going to say it really bluntly, old people got online, okay? That's what happened in the pandemic, okay? The demographic of loads of our platforms has completely taken a left turn, okay? And what used to be a young person's platform, Facebook, is now inhabited much more by a multi-generational approach, okay? And what's going to happen is they're going to change the way they work because of that. Okay, they're going to have to, because they want to monetize you. Okay, they want to make money off advertising to you, so they will have to change the way they work because they want you to stay on there longer. Okay, and the fifth one is something I will always say is the gap between the haves and the have-not has just gone massive. Okay, we all know that. Just chat to any teacher in any school, okay, and they will tell you the gap in learning has gone massive. The gap in our churches when we go back will be massive. Okay, there'll be some families that did really well out of this pandemic, and I must say I'm one of those families that's done really well. We were all able to get online. We were all able to work from home. Okay, my daughter has had a great time playing at home. She isn't in school yet. Okay, there's some families couldn't afford a computer for each of their kids. They had one to share between them, and it was really hard. Okay, and that's what we're about to face. It's going to be a missing demographic of people. Okay, have you got any questions around those? Because that's the statistic bit done in about 10 minutes. Okay, that's where we're at. Okay, as far as the internet's concerned. There's also some incredible reports about mission and evangelism come out on in digital, okay? Here's some of the things that we know, okay? Feel free to tell me I'm wrong. These are very much Ali Johnson's boiled down statistics, which are not verified by anyone other than myself, okay? Which is never the best way to do it. Nigel would tell me off, okay? No research, just read a few reports and made some assumptions, okay? Here's my 7 assumptions about what we're gonna face going back. The first assumption is it's going to be a little bit of an increase in interest in church. Okay, there was a little bit of an increase in church. It wasn't massive, as we were led to believe, but there was a little increase in church. Okay, some of my friends started asking me about going to church simply because I posted about it on Facebook. There was a peak of interest, particularly at the start of the pandemic, and then it tailed off. The second is, okay, in the long term, there's going to be an opportunity, a reduced funding and grants, not for all churches. Some churches did really well out of the pandemic, but many churches are going to struggle. The third is, okay, there's been a deep rethinking of how we do small groups. Okay, the churches got better at doing small groups, and that's what Zoom has helped us achieve. Okay, any closed form of communication got better. Okay, WhatsApp, Zoom got really good. Anything that we were able to lock down, we did really well on. The bit we didn't do so well, we need to be honest about, we didn't reach many people for Jesus. Okay, we need to be really honest, that probably didn't happen well for us. Okay, but we did serve our members really, really well. Okay, and we served some of their family members really well. The fourth is, okay, society is going to have greater needs and fewer resources. Okay, the mental health pandemic that also happened alongside the pandemic is huge. Okay, greater needs, fewer resources. 5, there's been an increase in digital skills. Pre-pandemic, I would have never been invited to this. Okay, that would have never happened. Okay, but my phone is always blown off the hook now because everyone wants to talk to me. Okay, I wasn't the most popular person in church pre-pandemic. It just so happened. Okay, somewhere along the journey. The 6th is, okay, we're probably, okay, going back to lower numbers in our buildings, okay? And by that, I don't think people have necessarily left, but we're going back to less regularity. Secretly, I'll whisper this because we've got people who are really important in the room. Some people enjoyed not going to church. Okay. Some people enjoyed watching it in their pajamas. Okay. Some people enjoyed like just going to Zoom and then going. Some people actually enjoy not going to church. Okay. And so we're going to have to work really hard to persuade people to come back. It's not going to be as straightforward as we're all led to believe. We might see this. Okay. We might see a little push and then it's going to go down. Okay. And the last thing is, here's the most exciting bit. And hopefully the reason you invited me tonight is I reckon there is an increase in creativity and possibility. Okay. And I now want to talk to you about Disney. Okay. I always talk about Disney everywhere I go because I love it. Here's the thing. Okay. In Disney, I don't know why I've got Disney Plus on in their house. If you've not got Disney Plus, okay, there's a I'll call it a documentary, but I don't really know what it is. There's a documentary on Disney Plus called The Imagineers. Okay, it was one of the secrets of Disney's success in the theme parks. Okay, he credits this as one of his success in the theme parks. So, what Disney did is he created a department that was half people with imagination, people who have 50 good ideas before breakfast, which is me. Okay, and then half engineers. Okay, two people you should never put in a room together. Okay, people with dead good ideas, okay, and then people who like organization and order and making things happen. Okay, but he decided this was the best thing to do, was to put the best people with imagination and the best ideas, and he gave them 12 rules. Okay, they were called the 12 principles of Imagineering. Okay, here they are. Okay, and this is in order, they're in layers. Okay, so the bottom layer is it all begins with a story, creative intent, attention to detail, theming, long, medium, and close shots. Okay, and then it moves up to the second level about storyboarding, thinking about pre and post show, thinking about windings and transitions. Okay, moving from one place to another. Okay, and then he talks a little bit about force perspective, readability, and kinetics. And then he talks about it's the small world effect. Okay, what are those really significant moments? And then what are the hidden moments? Okay, he calls them hidden Mickeys that bring joy into people's life. Ignore all of them. Okay, they're really nice. But here's the thing. Okay, he said, okay, the most important thing, the 12th and golden rule of Imagineering was this. Okay, it was a phrase he calls plussing. Okay, and I think it's absolutely genius for the church. So here's what he said. He said he built a roller coaster. Okay, and he let some people on it. Okay, and then, but literally, he wouldn't release the roller coaster to anyone else for ages. And they asked him why. And he said, because the first idea is never good enough. Okay, the first idea is never good enough. And plussing, he said, the question you have to ask yourself for Disney's golden rule was, how can we make that idea better? Okay, the first idea is never the best idea, and how can we make that idea better? And I actually think it's really exciting. I used to get really sad when people told me, I have like 10, literally, ask my wife or anyone I work with, I have 50 good ideas before breakfast. Okay, and the truth is, none of them are that good. Like, none of them are that good. Because what I need to learn is in the ideas process in digital is actually we've got to work on those ideas and craft those ideas until they get better. Okay, we've got to, okay, if we're going to do digital well, imagine something. And Nigel sort of hinted at this, but I just want to repeat it. And Checky said the same thing. We're going to have to imagine something that isn't already there. Okay. Imagining something that isn't already there is really difficult. It doesn't happen overnight. I have not seen any of the ideas that were put in the funding thing, okay? So I need to shoot straight. So I can talk with about no particular idea. And I'm saying this because I'm about to say something about it, okay? So don't feel like I've been put up to this, okay? Here's the thing, okay, in digital. You're actually going to need to imagine something that doesn't already exist. Okay, that is what we're asking people to do. Okay, and the reason for that is because I really believe if we're going to reach people for Jesus in a digital space, then we have to understand the digital space. Okay, we can't expect people to come to us. Okay, and we also can't go online and just expect people to arrive. Okay, we've got to do the piece of work. And here's what Jesus did. I mean, I'm not really a theologian, but I understand a few things about Jesus. I understand that Jesus moved into my neighborhood. Okay, I understand that Jesus, who's the model we've all got to follow, okay, he moved into my neighborhood. Okay, he didn't expect me to figure it all out. In fact, he moved towards me. Okay, he moved into the uncomfortable space and he figured it out. Okay, I think it's my job to help you do that piece of work. Okay, that's what I'm here to do tonight, is help you begin to plus your ideas. Okay, begin to ask the right questions that will make the ideas, the seed of what Nigel talked about, into something that's really, really going to change people's lives. Okay, and that's what we're about to do in the next sort of 18 minutes, which is exciting because that's not long. So, a few ideas you might have already had, okay? And then I'm going to offer you a few ideas of other people. The first thing is live streaming, okay? And people come to me and they're like, I've chatted to Lorraine about this before. People come to me all the time and they're like, right, I want a live stream. And I'm like, great, that's good. There's loads of stuff out there that'll do it for you. It's really good. But is your content ready to be live streamed? Like, you know, you want to live stream worship. How do you like? Does it sound good? Like, because you don't want to do that to someone. You don't want to put them out on a live stream if you've not really thought through it. Because believe you me, I've been to some terrible live streams and it's ruined some people's confidence. Also, have you thought about the fact that you've now got a whole different group of people outside than you've got inside? Okay, you've actually got two audiences at the same time. It's really hard work. Okay, I don't know if any of you have preached live and live in the room and also live online at the same time. It is an absolute art form. Okay, and it's an art form that not many people have. The third is you can't go on as long online as you can in person. It just doesn't work. Okay, it's absolutely fine to do a 20-minute sermon. Okay, when you are like when you're in church, because the truth is no one's got anywhere to go. Okay, but when you're on the internet, okay, and you're watching a 20-minute sermon on YouTube, down the right-hand side, you're offered about 1 million more opportunities to watch really good sermons on YouTube down the side. And unless you've got a vested interest, okay, you're probably not going to sit there for 20 minutes. Okay, live streaming is really, really hard to do well. Okay, TV didn't just happen overnight. Okay, it took a long time to craft. Okay, so live streaming, yes, is an option, but think carefully about how you do it. The next one is hybrid. Okay, hybrid is even harder than live streaming. Okay, it is one of the hardest things to do, and here's why. Okay, I got a friend, some of you know, she's called Jo Cox-Darling. She gave me this quote, and it's a good one. She said, if you do hybrid right, you have to do what you do online, offline, and you have to do what you do offline, online. Okay? So you have to do what you do online, offline, and you have to do what you do offline, online. Okay, so here's the thing. If you're going to give something out in church, okay, have you ever played the Smarty game, okay, with young people, where you like give them a box of Smarties in a bowl and they have to swap one with the other and get all the same color in their bowl. The first person wins. Okay. If you're doing that in your church building, that's great. How are you going to do that on the internet? I can't help you out with this one. This is way out of my pay grade. So then you've got to really think about, does this translate online, offline? Okay, you thought live streaming was hard. Hybrid's really hard. Okay, it is really hard. And then here's the thing that Nigel was suggesting. Okay, maybe it's time to do something completely different. Okay, maybe it's time to do something completely different. Okay, and here's why. Lorraine will be very impressed that she can report back to Ashley. I managed to get a Bible into this. Okay, so here's the thing. Okay, Psalm 127 says this: unless the Lord builds the house, those who build it labor in vain. Okay. Here's the sad, my like sad thing about being in church digital work is I spend a lot of my time listening to people who've worked really hard, okay, and actually got to the end of it and it hasn't worked because they haven't asked themselves the right difficult question at the beginning. And I'm about to tear up because I'm thinking of a few people, but it's really hard. Okay, digital is really, really hard work. It's hard work because the truth of the matter is there's always someone doing it better than you. Okay, there is always someone who's doing it better than you. Okay, there is always someone who's got more money than you to throw at it, or better skills to throw at it, or more team to throw at it, and it's really hard. So the key thing for me is ask the right questions before you start. Okay, ask the right questions before you start. I thought I'd better give you some keys to unlock some doors for you. I've got like 13-ish minutes to go. I think I'm going to finish a few minutes early just to impress you, Nigel. Okay, here's a few keys to making digital work. The first thing you need to do is think of an idea to draw people in. Okay, you have to have something that draws people in. Okay, you have to have an idea or a piece of content or something that's going to draw people in and not just going to arrive by accident. There's a lot of other cool stuff you can do on the internet all the time. You've got to give people a reason to turn up. The second thing is you have to raise interest once they arrive. Okay, here's the incredible thing about online. Most people turn off after 3 seconds. Whatever it is, whether it's a video, whether it's a piece of content, most people switch off after 3 minutes. And so when I go to churches and they say, yeah, we've had like about 1,000 people watching our videos. I'm like, yeah, but how many of them stayed for after 3 minutes, 3 seconds? And more importantly, how many of them stayed after 3 minutes? Okay, when the countdown ended. Okay, how many stayed then? Okay, you've got to raise, once you've got people there, you've got to raise interest. And then the third thing is you've got to build community. Once you've raised people interested, you've got them in a space or a place or a thing or listening or engaged, you've then got to build community. You have to give them a reason to come back. Okay, number 4, you then have to encourage invitation. Okay, it sounds suspiciously like normal church, I know, but I'm just telling you what works. Okay, then you have to encourage invitation. Okay, you have to be in to grow this thing. The fifth is you have to ask people to go deeper. Okay, you have to ask them to make some form of commitment to that, whether it be a like or a share. Okay, whether it be an action or encouraging them to go deeper. The sixth thing is then you have to replicate by growing the new leaders. Okay, and you have to do that. Okay, you have to grow new leaders. You have to continue to cycle that through bit by bit. And number 7, grow new leaders. Apologise for a spelling mistake here. 7, okay, you always have to make it better. What was Disney's cardinal rule? You have to plus it. Okay, you have to plus it. Okay, to make it better. I want to offer you 3 things. Okay, that are possible examples of where I've seen this done reasonably well. Okay, the first one is an Instagram channel. If any of you cool cats are on Instagram, okay, called The Way UK. Okay, The Way UK are a group of young people, okay, who garnered together and got some support from their local church to start an Instagram channel. Okay, they literally make videos on Instagram. Okay, and they literally make videos that the young people want to hear. They are young people talking to young people. Okay, it's a really simple equation. They just start talking about things that young people care about. Okay, and they've built a community in and around it. Okay, it is so simple what they've done, but so effective. They've got a group of really good young people. Okay, they've given them the resources, they've upskilled them, and they've given them the opportunity to grow. The second is something which I think some of you all know about, is Nomad. Anyone heard of the Nomad podcast? Okay, this was started by a guy who was on the Venture FX project a while ago. Okay, it's called Tim. He's a great guy, and basically he was building a community with 3 or 4 other people. Okay, they'd start to have really significant conversations of faith. Okay, so they built this community around this podcast. Okay, a podcast that exists then, and they were. He thought, you know what I've got to do? I've got to start recording these conversations. Okay, I've got to start recording conversations. And he was like, the best thing to do is like maybe record them in a podcast. Okay, I'm not really into video. Podcast's great. So he basically built a garden shed and he started recording these amazing people talking about their faith, okay, and asking questions to great people. And then people started listening by chance. Okay, by surprise, people started listening. Okay, and then he was like, so he's now raised interest, okay, gone through my list, okay. Then he built a community, okay. He started a website, said, if you want to join the Nomad website, then you can pop on and you can join the listener map. Where are you listening from? Right, I'm listening from Stoke. Nigel, you're listening from up there. You're not that far apart. If you want to meet up together and talk about this Nomad podcast, great. Okay, and then little listener groups started to come up. And then he started a Facebook page. He's like, now got a Facebook group, okay, that read a book together all the time. So yeah, Lorraine, he's from Nottingham. Yeah. And so I think it's really, really helpful to see that model. He then started a book club, which is a closed Facebook group, and he's built a community. And Tim has built a really significant podcast. It's taken a long, long time. Nigel's right. Tim's been at this since, I think it started in 2011 off the top of my head. Okay, it's been a long journey. Lorraine probably knows a bit more of the story than I do, as does Nigel, but it's been a long, hard graft, okay? This stuff isn't just going to happen overnight. And so I think what I want to say is, okay, a few things to kind of wrap up and finish. I've got plenty more to say, but I think I've said the key things I want to just start with. The key thing to say is that I think we need to understand the landscape. Nigel talked a little bit about hosts and guests. But I just want to tell you how I understand what Nigel said. Nigel, please feel free to come back if I'm wrong. Okay. The key thing to being a host and being a guest is this. Okay. If I am a guest, okay, in the digital space, okay, because I inhabit the digital space. Okay. I am on Instagram. I am on TikTok. I am on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. The hours a day that I spend, okay, I inhabit those spaces well, okay? I don't go on there, okay, just to tell people about Jesus, okay? I do go on there to tell about Jesus as well, but that's not the only reason I go on there. Okay, I go on there because I want to learn more about other people, okay? I want to understand who they are. I want to understand what my friends are interested in. I want to be a part of that community, okay? And so I am a guest in that space. I become a host, okay, because I've learned to understand that community, okay, because I know who I am and I know what they're interested in, and I've learned to listen well, okay. The relationship, being a guest and being a host, is a relationship of listening and speaking, okay, and transitioning between those two things all the time. I think in a digital space, the thing I want to get at is you've got to learn to inhabit the space well, okay. You've got to learn to do that piece of work well. And what I think I am hearing, okay, is what Nigel was getting at was, okay, you can't start with an idea of me and a group of people unless you know they're going to be there. Okay, so for instance, if I wanted to reach young people aged 13 to 21, okay, the truth is I wouldn't go on Facebook to do it. Okay, because they're not there, they've already left, okay? Because their grandma and mum and auntie are all on Facebook and so they've ditched it and gone, okay? So the thing that points to me is, okay, you have to understand the people you want to reach and find out where they are in that space, okay, if that's what you're choosing to do. Or build content that they can come and be a part of, okay? It's all about understanding the area, understanding the people, doing the piece of work about the idea that you want to, the vision that Nigel talked about, that God's put on your heart, the people that God's put on your heart, the group of people that God's put on your heart He wants you to reach, and then begin to cultivate and freshen up the idea. And hopefully that has given you some inspiration. Apologies, it's been a bit like all over the place, but I didn't have long to do what I wanted to do tonight. But I'm here for questions if you want to do questions, or breakout rooms if that's what they want to do. I don't know who even. I'm handing back to you, Lorraine.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Ali. Okay then, so loads of information in that session. Thank you so much, Ali, for that. I'm just wondering, Nigel, I've just done the course. Just remind everybody what it is, because Ali obviously does some work on that course as well. And there's another one coming up, I understand. Can you just talk a little bit about that, which might be of some help to people too, before we do respond to some questions?
Yeah, there's been 2 rounds of the course so far. The first was very much focused on digital church planting. The second one shifted a little bit to digital church more generally, to include what was already happening as well as starting new things. It's facilitated by the evangelism and growth team. We have been working in partnership with people from the United Methodist Church in America who've done some videos to help support this, because they are a little bit ahead of us in how this works, and they know the figures better about what works and what doesn't. Loads of people have come, I think around about 150, 160 people in total. Some have gone on to do small group work to follow up on that. I facilitated a regional group where people from our Learning Network region have carried on meeting. We've met 6 times now. We just come together, we swap stories, we keep encouraging one another, we share ideas, we try and build one another up. Because again, just to reinforce it, we're all learning. I think Ali and I have both said that we're all learning in this. So I think the course is a stepping stone. If I'm honest, it's a bit too American. You know, the British voice, if you like, is yet to emerge in a way which we might help. People like Ali are obviously taking that forward, but hopefully we can have a very British version of it. But the feedback's been really positive, and just giving people the chance to ask, to learn, to unpack, I think it's been really valuable to get this into our agenda, to think about some of those paradigm shifts. I think it was Barry who invited us to consider. So happy to answer questions either about that or email me if that's going to be helpful. I'll put my email in the box so you can come back to me. That's
great. And there's a lot of information on the Evangelism and Growth Team page on the Methodist Church website if you are interested in doing anything around this sort of area, and particularly this course that we've just been talking about now.